Welcome friends to this new video of Sapphire Talks English. Now in this presentation I'll walk you through two very closely linked themes. First, India's emerging role in the Asian value chain, and secondly, the way inventory and logistics are now being rerouted through India as a part of the broader resilience strategy. Taken together, these trends tell us that India is no longer just a market or a low-cost production base. Now it is increasingly a node in regional economic architecture of Asia, especially for manufacturing, critical minerals and trade logistics. I'll start with why India matters in this value chain, move on to explaining how it is climbing up the manufacturing ladder, and then connect that to a recent supply chain decision by multinationals who are shifting inventory to India. I'll end up with some implications of all this for business and for policy. Firstly, now let's look at the foundations behind India's growing role. India has a domestic demand base of over 1.4 billion people. This scale is very crucial. It encourages suppliers to cluster locally, gives investors the confidence that whatever capacity they create will be absorbed within India itself, and supports the economies of deeper value addition rather than just final assembly. Over the last decade, India's manufacturing role has also changed substantially. Medium and high tech activities now account for a significantly larger share of manufacturing value added than earlier. That tells us that India is gradually shifting towards more sophisticated production, things like electronics, automotive components, engineered products, rather than relying on low tech output only. Industrial competitiveness is improving as well. On international benchmarks, India's ranking has improved and it is reflecting gains in infrastructure, productivity, and export capabilities. Now, India is still not at China level or at the level of many Asian peers, but the direction of travel is clearly positive. On the top of these structural fundamentals, there is an important policy layer also. Programs such as Make in India, production linked incentive schemes, targeted electronic and component manufacturing policies are all designed to push India from a simple assembly line into deeper upstream activities. The intent is to build a complete ecosystem: design, components, manufacturing, and after sales support. Put together, scale, technology mix, competitiveness, and policy support give India the profile to act as an anchor for regional value chains with close linkages to ASEAN, the Gulf region, and broader Indo-Pacific. Now let's discuss on why India is actually moving up the value chain in practice. Investors today are increasingly looking for exposure to complete ecosystems rather than isolated projects. This means that they want a combination of manufacturing capability, talent, domestic demand, and regional connectivity. India and ASEAN taken together can offer this package: factories, skilled labor, large consumer bases, and access to key shipping and air routes across the Indo-Pacific. Within India also, now the emphasis is shifting from basic assembly into more upstream capabilities. In sectors like electronics, automobiles, and renewables, we are seeing movement into components, sub-assemblies, and sometimes even into materials with specialized inputs. That is important because value chains tend to be sticky once upstream capabilities are built. Then it becomes harder to relocate production quickly. A critical part of this evolution is India's focus on strategic resource and critical minerals. Partners in groupings such as the Quad have announced frameworks to invest in critical mineral supply chains, mining, processing, and recycling. India also has launched the National Critical Mineral Mission with a multi-year outlay and is signing bilateral arrangements, for example with Japan and United States, to strengthen the resilience of these supply lines. Now this tells us that India is not only trying to be a part of a downstream manufacturing chain, it is also positioning itself in the upstream ecosystem for batteries, electric vehicles, clean energy technologies where access to critical minerals is decisive. So if we step back, India's position within the regional value chains can be summarized in three ways: electronics and advanced manufacturing, a fast-growing digital and innovation ecosystem, and an emerging role in critical minerals and energy supply chains. Each of these layers is important. Manufacturing needs reliable energy and material, innovation, ecosystems, and they all need manufacturing partners. And all of this is more attractive when the country is connected to the region as well, and it itself has a very large base of 1.4 billion people. Now let's connect all this to recent developments in trade, logistics and inventory management. In the last couple of years, disruptions in West Asia, whether due to conflict, sanctions or shipping risks, have made companies rethink their traditional distribution models. Many multinationals were relying on a single large hub, typically in the Gulf, let's say UAE, to serve a wider geographical area. That created concentration risk. Any disruption to that one hub could affect supply to multiple markets. As a result, firms are now moving away from pure just-in-time models and towards multi-location buffer stocks. In practical terms, they are adding satellite hubs in other countries to complement their main Gulf hub. Now, India has emerged as one of those satellite locations. Logistic operators have reported that a number of multinational customers, especially in automotive spare parts, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, industrial goods, and even agriculture, have shifted part of their inventories into facilities at Mumbai and Chennai. These are often free trade warehousing zones or specialized logistic parks that allow duty-free deferred storage and efficient redistribution. What is notable is that management teams do not see this as a temporary adjustment. They increasingly view India as a permanent part of more resilient networks. A mother hub, say in Dubai, for example, backed by satellite hubs in India and possibly elsewhere in Asia. For India, this shift matters. It means that the country is not just a production location, it is also becoming a regional inventory node. That changes the calculation for trade, tax planning, infrastructure. Ports and rail links, warehousing, and custom processes will now all become part of strategic offerings to the global supply chains. Let me now close with some implication for business and policy and advisory work. From a trade strategy perspective, India's dual role as a production base and inventory hub strengthens its relevance in the Indo-Pac economic architecture. Countries and companies that want to diversify away from single point risks in West Asia or over-dependence on China will naturally look at how India fits into their network designs. For corporates and groups operating across borders, this environment calls for a fresh look at operating models. Issues such as custom valuations, transfer pricing, warehousing structures, and disaster recovery supply maps need to be revisited. The location of inventory, the terms on which it is held, and the way risk and rewards are allocated within the supply chain will have tax, legal, and reporting consequences. On the policy side, India's ability to sustain and deepen this role will depend on actual execution. Infrastructure must keep pace, that is, ports, roads, railways, and digital systems must keep pace with this growing relevance that India is now enjoying. Cost competitiveness has to be maintained even as wages rise. Upstream capabilities in components and strategic minerals must now grow so that India is not just assembling imported inputs. And finally, trusted partnerships with ASEAN, Japan, US, and the Gulf and others will be essential to keep the trade lanes open and predictable. Now, for advisors, businesses, boards of directors, the key takeaway is simple. India is moving from the periphery of the Asian value chain right towards the center. It is becoming both a factory and the warehouse for the region. Any medium to long-term strategy for manufacturing, trade, and supply chain resilience in Asia now needs a clear view on how India will feature in this design. Friends, thank you very much. I hope that you have found this video interesting. If you have found this video interesting, please like this video, subscribe to our channel. I bid you goodbye until our next video. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.